Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles, and we're going to talk about how AI is transforming film and television, and especially animation. I know people don't want to hear that. I know a lot of art school kids don't want to hear that, but it definitely is changing things very, very quickly, and Hollywood is not going to have a choice. They're going to have to adapt. It is inevitable, and the people who don't adapt will get left behind, and there will always be a desire, I think, from some people for artisanal movies and artisanal television shows, but the new normal will be to use AI in some capacity to help create stuff faster, better, kind of like the bionic man / woman / they them, right? It's unavoidable, guys. It is. And so my advice to you as a creative, as much as you loathe it, is you need to learn something about AI, especially if you want to get into the animation industry, because I think that's where things are going. Just like, you know, how 20 years ago, a lot of 2D animators had to make the jump to 3D, and there's a lot of doom and gloom about it. I saw some videos yesterday, doom and gloom, AI is going to kill us all. I don't believe that. Because here's the thing about AI, it's not actually sentient. It's not actually, intelligent in the way that a human is intelligent. It basically is just a very, very, very fast, very efficient calculator. It's very good at gathering data. It's very good at, giving you large sums of information, distilling that down faster than a human can do it, much like, again, like a calculator, right? I mean, I have to wonder, back in the day, did people fight calculators? Actually, no. You know what? They did. Yeah, I just unlocked a memory. When I was a kid, my math teacher in the 4th grade refused to let us use calculators because he's like, you need to learn to do it for real, because, you know, someday you're going to have to do it for real. You're not going to be able to rely on a calculator or a computer. And I'm thinking to myself, that day never came. It's like that day never came. I'm still waiting for the day where I need to do long division to save my life, right? But yeah, I mean, I understand the thought process behind it, getting people to do it for realsies, but it's just not practical in today's economy, especially with movies tanking at the box office, right? We talked about Tron Ares. It was $180 million, made $33 million. That movie in particular could have been made a lot cheaper with AI because we dealt primarily with computer imagery. So I think people would have been a little more forgiving, since the whole plot of the movie was about AI and computers anyway. I think they would have been a little more forgiving if some of the stuff looked a little weird, right? But let's talk about that. We're going to talk about how Jason Blum from Blumhouse is getting in trouble for saying that it's inevitable that we're going to have to use AI. Ridley Scott, his comments about AI are coming back to haunt him now. Again, people are talking about his AI animation stuff he wants to do. It's making the rounds again. What is going on is, as we're getting closer to unions renegotiating their contract, Geeky covered that yesterday, I think a lot of them are going through their member roster, and they're like, hey, who here is pro AI? We're gonna rat them out. Because the thing is if you only need 10 people on a production now instead of 100 people, there's 90 people not paying dues, right? So I think the unions definitely have a vested interest. And I think I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of the unions are fear-mongering AI and getting people all worked up about AI because they want those dues, right? That's my personal feeling on it. But we're going to talk about it. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, we do have a sponsor for this video, conveniently enough. It is an AI browser, but it's actually a very cool one. So listen to the message, and then we'll be back with the news in a couple of minutes. Let me ask you something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing, endless tabs? It's a lot of work, right? Well, there's a new AI-based web browser from Perplexity called Comet that is completely changing the way you're able to interact with your browser. Using Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things for you across the internet. Yes, do things, not just give you answers. You can ask Comet to handle tasks for you, and it literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls just like you would to get things done for you in the background while you go about your day. Comet can shop for you, make reservations, book travel, summarize articles or videos, send emails, schedule meetings, and lots more to make your life easier. Let me show you how it works. Okay, so this is the first time I've used Comet. It was very nice. Reminds me of Orion Pictures. Remember that? That was pretty cool. Welcome to Comet. Get started. So I can import my data from Chrome. I guess I'm going to be Neon. Some people think I'm a Uranus. All right, we go dark. Of course I'm going to go dark. All right. Okay, so this is the Comet Assistant. You can do email, you do calendars, browsers. Okay, so this is pretty cool. Identify today's 3 hottest news stories. Here are 5 things to know for October 2nd. Mass layoffs, crime crackdown, Walmart climate change, and Jane Goodall. Okay, so there we go. So look, if you look up here, there's an assistant side panel. Okay, let's look at this. Oh, wow. Okay, this is really cool. Okay, this is very, very cool. So you can go to the assistant. This is a news article. Explain the significance. Here are the significance of the 5 main news points highlighted for October 2nd. Mass layoffs. The ongoing U.S. government shutdown is prompting the Trump administration to threaten mass layoffs of federal workers. Okay. Crime crackdown. The deployment of federal officers, National Guard troops in Memphis demonstrates federal push for strict crime enforcement in certain cities. Okay, so you can just go out to this, which is Perplexity AI's homepage. So this is very cool. It's built right in. The AI is built right into the browser. We can do deep research on any topic. Okay, let's look up us. Now, it says it's going to take 2 minutes to gather all the sources, so maybe we'll go do something else and then come back to this. Okay, so here's another AI tool. Summarize the current web page. This would be the Clownfish TV news page, news.clownfishtv.com. Let's summarize it. Clownfish TV Podcast and News is an independent entertainment news site hosted on Substack. It features recent news and podcasts covering topics like generational money anxiety, controversies in fandom, Star Wars and Doctor Who, changes in media and social media platforms, and trends in pop culture. The site emphasizes an opinionated but apolitical stance on video games, tech, comics, movies, anime, and entertainment news. So we can check and see where it's at with the other task we gave it, which is to tell us about Clownfish TV. So husband-wife team, channel overview and growth. As of 2024, Clownfish TV's main YouTube channel has 630,000 subscribers. Hey, there's always room for more. The channel launched in 2016, has maintained consistent daily uploads, producing over 7,200 videos. Let's zoom in on that. 7,200 videos. But yeah, this is pretty accurate. Oh, here we go. Controversies and criticisms, guys. Guess where the controversies are coming from? It's coming from Reddit. We'll just pick an article here. Here we go. Bad Bunny. The Trump administration is falling into the Bad Bunny trap. Let's look at our assistant. Let's summarize the current page. Article discusses the growing conflict between Trump and Bad Bunny, who's set to perform at the Super Bowl. Bunny has openly criticized Trump's immigration and deportation policies. Bunny's latest album, Tour Decisions, social media posts highlight his opposition to Trump's handling of issues like Puerto Rico. So this has a voice mode too. Let's do voice mode. Can you take me to the Crunchyroll website? Oh, hey, look at that. Cool. Awesome. So there's Crunchyroll. So yeah, you can actually talk to the assistant and it will answer questions for you directly, kind of like Google does, right? Or you can even tell it to take you somewhere. So if you go out to Perplexity, you actually can tell it where to look for things. This is really interesting. You can do web searches, you can do academic searches, so it can search papers, social media opinions, finance, SEC filings. So it will make finding information a hell of a lot faster. That's awesome. So here are spaces. This is interesting. Trip Planner Pro, interview role play coach, practice interviews through role play, brainstorm buddy, writing coach, big beautiful bill explorer, money manager, intro email generator, English to German translator, personal growth coach, crypto coin explorer. Man, there's a lot of stuff here. This is like, let's go to brainstorm buddy. Explore and expand your ideas with creative AI that generates fresh angles, bold directions, and thoughtful variations. All right, so let's do eco, disaster, satire as a musical with Nicolas Cage. All right, core concept title, Cage Against the Green Machine. Nicolas Cage stars as a washed-up former action hero turned climate crusader, accidentally thrust to fame when a viral video catches him stopping an absurdly obvious eco-catastrophe. There we go, guys. Oh, it said that we should get Phil Lord and Chris Miller to work on, maybe Taika Waititi. I'll get right on that. It's pretty cool, right? So you can download Perplexity's new AI web browser, Comet, by heading to this URL, pplx.ai. That's pplx.ai/clownfish, and let your browser work for you. Plus, right now, when you download Comet, you will get a month of Rumble Premium for free. For free. That's pplx.ai/clownfish. Go now and take back your time online. Let's get back into the video. All right, guys, let's go out to this article. This is a Book and Film Globe. And this article is by Stephen McCauley. Actually, it's from September, but they, I think they refreshed it here. No more Hollywood. AI is going to transform film and television. Animation is showing the way. And conveniently enough, we're talking about horror. We're talking about animation. And I just saw this in my feed today. This is an AI animated John Carpenter's The Thing. It looks like a 1980s TV show. And it's actually pretty damn cool. And here's the thing, no pun intended. This animation, even though it's AI, is better than a lot of the adult animation. It's better than a lot of the stuff on Adult Swim. And eventually, this is going to be the new normal. And you're going to have people that are going to, put together the keyframes and whatever. And then they're going to plug it into the computer, and we're probably going to have, if we don't have already, AI animation packages that will do a lot of the heavy lifting. And instead of spending, $500,000 or $1 million on an episode, you might be able to spend a couple $1,000s on an episode. And I know it's crude now. I know you can tell that it's AI now. Well, if you know what to look for, right? But that's not always going to be the case. It is just going to be part of the tool set. And I keep telling people this, and they're like, no, it's not. It's ever. Here's the thing: the consumer doesn't care. I mean, people that make this stuff can look at it and they can be like, oh, this is obviously AI. This is obviously, whatever. Oh, here's a tell. Like I saw yesterday, people were trying to give Troll Lord Games a hard time because they were zooming in on this beautiful painting for a cover of their new book. And they zoomed in, and then they found that the one character was holding a bow, but the bowstring was like going through his forearm. And they're like, they used AI. I'm like, maybe they did. I don't know. Or maybe they used Photoshop to composite standalone figures. I don't know. But the fact that everybody's going through all of this stuff now with a freaking microscope, it's like the time it took you to look for AI, you could have actually generated your own AI stuff, right? And I think the thing is, people know they can't compete. They know they can't compete. And the consumers are going to be the ones who determine whether or not this takes off. And I think they're just going to watch whatever. If it looks cool, 99% of people don't care how it's made. And again, this is, the people who have spent their lives perfecting their craft. I get it. It's a kick in the balls to be like, yeah, everything that took me 30 years to do, this computer can do in 30 seconds or less. And it sucks, right? I'm sure the abacus makers were pretty bummed too, when the calculators roll around. But what I'm saying, it is what it is. And one thing I've learned, and I'm trying to be positive here, right? One thing I've learned as a former graphic designer, artist of a certain age, is that in this industry in particular, things change very, very quickly. And to me, this is just the next evolution of it. Now, I know a lot of YouTubers are freaking the hell out because they're like, wait a second. They can basically copy our YouTube videos, and you can have like fake commentators and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that was the logical next step, right? But there's always going to be a need, I think, for authentic human voices for the most part. I think it's going to be more important And that's part of the reason I've gone on camera on the DREZ podcast. I think it's going to be more important now to actually be a real person, to be an imperfect person and go on camera and fuck up so people know that you're actually a human being, because you are going to have these pixel perfect AI commentators. And again, now you can kind of tell there's something a little uncanny valley about it. It's not always going to be the case, right? So my advice to you, if you're going to do YouTube now, is I try not to be as polished maybe as you've been, and just let you know, warts and all, so people know it's actually human. That is my recommendation to you. He says behind an animated avatar, not always behind the avatar. Anyway, this is really interesting though, because this backs up everything that we've been saying about the animation industry, that animation is going to be the most affected at first, and then FX, and then eventually we're going to get into the Tilly Norwood situation. I think on a bigger scale, where we have multiple digital actors, right? And as long as consumers are willing to accept those digital actors and accept those animated series that have AI assistance, then it's going to continue to progress. Because people just, I mean, it's already happening on YouTube. There's so much AI slop. I mean, some of it's obvious AI slop, but your kids are watching shorts and it's the craziest shit you've ever seen. They're watching a lot of it, and the creators aren't getting paid much for it because shorts don't pay shit. But you know, they're still watching it. There's lots of watch time, and that's what YouTube is pushing now, right? So yeah, this is coming from Book and Film Globe. Nurja 2 has been, I think that's how you pronounce it, has been a massive global hit. K-pop Demon Hunters is a huge hit. Minecraft is a huge hit. What do they have in common? They're animated, which leads us back to 1984 in the Ridley Scott directed commercial for the original Apple Macintosh. And ironically, Ridley Scott is coming up again in the news because last year he said we're going to have to embrace AI, and he talked about actually opening an AI animation studio. So we're coming full circle here. This guy's always been ahead of the curve, and he's always trying to embrace new technology at his age. I mean, he's what, like 80 years old now? I mean, that's pretty damn respectable. Oh, speaking of Ridley Scott, a little bit of a side tangent here. I went to Walmart, and the $5 DVD bin, they had a copy of Legend, the Director's Cut. And if there has ever been a better case for a director's cut, I have never found it. Right? Legend is, the director's cut is like a totally different movie, and it feels more like a fantasy film in line with Lord of the Rings, a good Lord of the Rings, and it fleshes things out. And if you've never seen the director's cut, I don't think it's on streaming. I think you have to buy it. I had a copy years ago, and then I had the brain fart that I was going to sell all my physical DVDs and Blu-rays because I wanted to save space. Well, I bought it again. I'm like, yeah, it's really damn good. Probably one of Ridley Scott's best movies. Legend itself isn't, but the director's cut definitely is. See if you can track it down. It's at Walmart. It's $5. It's $5 worth spending for sure. Anyway, the point of the Macintosh was to democratize computing. Yeah, people forget this, right? At one point in time, normal people didn't have access to computers, let alone own computers. And the Macintosh made computers not only affordable, but accessible because of the WYSIWYG interface, which became the norm with, Windows, because, Gates stole all that, yeah, way to go, Bill. But yeah, there was a time when, normal people didn't have access to computers. We had one Apple IIe in my grade, and I remember they used to push it around on a cart. Like every class got had a computer day, and we'd get our day with the computer, and we'd all take turns. This row is going to play. And a lot of times it was like, you were all sharing this one computer. So it was like, okay, this row is going to go play. What do we have? Like Gertrude's Secret or some stupid thing with a goose. I remember that. And we'd play that, but it'd be like one or two kids would actually play it, and the other kids would watch. And then, yeah, it was really weird. It was a different time for sure. I said the Mac brought computing to the desktops, not only in offices, but in homes, and because it was a move from centralized to distributed computing, because it came with Mac Write and Mac Paint, because it had drag and drop functionality. That was novel back then, guys, right? You used to have to learn the code if you wanted to use a computer. And because Apple also sold the professional grade LaserWriter printer, people found they could create newsletters with a professionalism and ease that mimeograph machines just didn't allow. Some of these publications were the stuff of bake sales and lost pets, but some had greater value to both the creators and the recipients. And that's very important. Just because everybody has access to AI doesn't mean everybody's going to be good at it and everybody's going to be able to make good things with it. Just like everybody that has access to all these amazing editing tools doesn't mean that they're going to do anything great with it. Just because everybody and their brother could start a podcast or a YouTube channel doesn't mean they're going to go anywhere with it, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, these tools are available to everybody, but not everybody is going to be able to unlock the full potential, because it still takes a human creative to get creative with those tools and just realize this is another paintbrush in the box, right? And it's going to speed things up for you if you learn how to use it and aren't so fucking afraid of it. Just like all these people, I can't believe this. These digital artists, people that have never touched paper in their lives, they started drawing on tablets, which blows my mind, because that was, to me, again, being old, as a fairly recent development, right? I mean, I put my time in pencils, paper, different kinds of paper, different kind of nibs for different kinds of paper, different kind of brushes for different kinds of paper. I'd go to the art supply store and mix and match and try to come up with, what worked best and what was most efficient. Then here comes a tablet, and it just blows all that out of the water. But having that background in drawing, when I draw, I still draw like I'm drawing on paper. I still sketch things out like I would on paper. I have my nib, quote unquote, I use is actually one I set to mimic an Osmoroid pen, because that's what I used to draw with all the time, was an Osmoroid. And God, those things are great. But so you'll have certain advantages if you know how to do things the old fashioned way, right? That's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean everybody's going to do really good stuff. By the early 90s, desktop publishing transitioned from physical to digital with platforms like GeoCities, MySpace, and FrontPage. And then with Blogger and WordPress, things moved online. And there was a proliferation of people creating pages, text, photos, mood boards, whatever. Certainly much of that material still remains on the level of bake sales and lost pets, but there are other sites that not only rose to the level that had previously been the domain of professionals, but they also won advertising and subscriptions, meaning these home publishers are now the professionals. This is what Hollywood is afraid of. They don't want some guy in the basement being able to make movies for a couple $100,000 or less that compete with their multi-million-dollar disasters. Again, it was really freaking embarrassing, if we're talking about animation, that Flow, a movie that cost $3 million, that was made with Blender, and I think it was a staff of a dozen people or something like that made this movie, that won Best Animated Film at the Oscars over all the $200 million Disney DreamWorks movies. They don't want you. Hollywood does not want you to have access, because they want to be the gatekeepers, and the unions want you to pay them for the honor of being able to get into that system, right? They're the key masters. You have to go the way it worked traditionally, at least in the last, several decades. If you wanted to break into Hollywood, you had to get yourself an agent, they get a cut. And then you had to join a union, they get a cut. So everybody's making money off of you. And then this makes the price of the picture skyrocket. So, these budgets balloon up to $150, $200 million. Everybody's, getting paid through the nose, and you've got a lot of redundancy, but, they've got these mandates in place that you have to have so many people doing this or whatever. This blows all that up, and that's why they're so afraid. It's not because they're like, oh, the AI is going to kill us. No, they're telling you that because they want you to be afraid of it. Because they're afraid of it, because it makes them pointless, worthless. We still are going to have people making things. We're still going to have people making movies. We're still going to have people making comic books. We're still going to have people making video games. We just won't need as many. But like this guy points out, these digital tools have been available for decades, and not everybody can use them well. Grandma can use Photoshop, but she can't make a digital painting, right? Well, maybe she can, because now Photoshop does it itself. But you know what I'm saying? It's going to take somebody with a creative vision to be able to make this stuff sing. And there is a lot of fear mongering, and it comes down to money. It comes down to money, because God forbid we let people make movies that, and compete with Hollywood, because and that's what this whole thing is about. There are millions and millions and millions of dollars on the line, and they don't want you to compete with them. That's what it's about. It said at the beginning of the year, for example, Substack boasted around 50,000 publishers and more than 35 million subscribers, of which some 5 million are paying subscribers. This direct sale from writer to reader means a media landscape where legacy outlets for print, broadcast, and digital renditions of both are struggling for readers and relevance. Yes, now the consumer can pay the creator directly without much of a middleman. I mean, you've got facilitators like Substack or Kickstarter, you know what I'm saying? But you don't need the agent. You don't need the union. You don't need to hire a staff of umpteen people at, 6 figures to, yeah. As with the original Mac, it's no longer just about things being created by the professionals. That's the problem. So we look at what's happened in the video space. The numbers for YouTube alone are nothing short of astonishing. So he's case building here. He's basically saying that, look, this is normal. This is another huge upset, but this has been going on for decades. You should be used to it by now. But this one is an existential threat to the system as we've known it before. They were just like, oh, we'll roll this into our, production flow, and we'll still be able to grift. We'll still be able to collect union dues and all these other agency fees and all that shit. And it's crazy. Agencies, if you're a celebrity, you're paying 10 to 20% of your income, if not more. If you got somebody that's actually managing your career, people are like, how are these Hollywood stars broke? Well, look at their agency, because it's like they're taking a massive cut of their, and then they have to pay, all this stuff that goes with the business expenses. They have to pay insurances, and they have to, it's crazy. And then they got to give the union a cut. It's crazy. They said, so AI is doing for screen production what the Apple Mac did for print, but bigger, quicker, and stronger. We're already seeing how it's revolutionizing the consumer interface. People can go to Showrunner, which was developed by a company named Fable, founded by Pixar and Oculus veterans, and create shows, right? And passive engagement is possible, but it takes engagement with the program to a new level, far beyond the social sing-alongs are now becoming increasingly common. People can put themselves in a plot. Showrunner, they're saying, is going to be the Netflix of AI. Unsurprisingly, given the centrality of IP to this project, studios including Disney have expressed interest in Fable. Here's another one. Wondershare came out. In other words, like the early days of the Mac, when regular people found themselves empowered by the technology to create all manner of professional-grade documents that they could distribute, they said, to movie, this must be another. God, there's a lot of these apps. Eventually, this is going to shake out. We're going to have like one or two platforms that are kind of the standard, right? We'll have like the final cut of AI, and that'll be what people use. But anyway, it takes the same sort of approach for creating videos that are similarly professional grade, even though they are made by regular people. Note well, however, the bit about faster production, cost reduction, which are issues for professionals, not the home amateurs who have an interest in creating something more professional than they otherwise could pre-AI. This is a tool that can be deployed by businesses to create programs. They said to make a motion picture. Okay, this is what they're afraid of. To make a motion picture, the salaries of the cast and crew can account for about 30% of the budget, and the production is anywhere from 25 to 60%. Okay, the script is typically on the order of 5%, post-production 15 to 25%, and marketing 20 to 35%. AI can greatly diminish these production costs, and in animated movies, salaries can be vastly reduced too. Remember, the SAG-AFTRA contract calls for payment to actors if their likeness is used in an AI-based project. Animations might be using voice actors, but while there's still generally widespread use of name actors for the voice work, usually for marketing purposes, that were scrapped, the whole salary part of the overall budget would be greatly minimized, right? And they're talking about, Nerzat 2, Lilo and Stitch, Minecraft, Jurassic World Rebirth. They said, well, I know this is really boring, guys. I know this is. But basically, okay, so long and short of it is, and we're going to get into Blumhouse here. The long and short of it is this is basically going to do for movies what the Macintosh did for print. And we saw magazines lingered for a while, but then anybody could kind of create their own zine or their own publication. And And that kind of happened with the direct market with comic books too. Like you had to be a big publisher to get into the newsstands. But when the direct market came around, you had Eastman and Laird printing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in their damn garage and selling it direct to comic shops. That's what's going on here. And that's what's freaking Hollywood out because they don't get a cut, right? Or they're going to have to fire a bunch of people because it's only going to take 10 or 20 people to make a movie. I mean, watch any movie now. Like we were watching the credits for The Dark Crystal. We went to go see The Dark Crystal last night. I took my daughter to go see it. I love that they're running old movies again at the one theater we go to. They had Casper last week. We had Dark Crystal this week. They're going to have Labyrinth next year for the 40th. And they're also going to have The Last Dragon, which I'm like, man, I've never seen that in the big screen. That might be interesting. I don't know. That's at the end of the month. And Paranormal too, which we did see in the theaters when that came out. I just think it's really cool. Anyway, I was, stayed for the credits and I'm watching how many people were involved in it. And it wasn't nearly as many as there are in the typical Marvel or, Star Wars movie or whatever, Tron Ares. There weren't as many people involved. And Dark Crystal, they built everything by hand. Like it was all built by hand. Everything was made by hand. And it was so weird. Like I was talking to my daughter, I'm like, isn't it wild to think that 40 years ago in the 80s, we had movies where everything you saw on screen was made by a human. It existed in physical space for the most part, unless it was, special effect or something. Even then they used miniatures. Everything had to be built by hand. And it's such a weird thing to think about. But we also had unbridled creativity back then too, right? I mean, and I was thinking about this too, the 70s and the 80s, like we had this whole fantasy genre, and I kind of, I would throw Heavy Metal Magazine into that. I'd throw all these like kind of adult animated movies kind of in the vein of heavy metal. I'd say it started maybe with like Fantastic Planet. And then, throughout the 70s into like the mid 80s, we had all this fantasy, this really intricate fantasy. We saw things on screen that we have never seen before and we haven't seen since. And that's because of the human component. And a lot of it was humans pushing the boundaries of technology. George Lucas pushing the boundaries of technology with the original Star Wars trilogy. Jim Henson pushing the boundaries of what could be done with puppetry. The Dark Crystal is such an amazing movie. I mean, I know it's kind of slow, whatever. In 1982, God, we had Dark Crystal and the original Tron. And both of them were pushing the boundaries of what could be done with technology. And I think that incentivizes people to come up with basically to just unleash their imagination, because it's not like, okay, well, this thing has to stay under budget. So it's going to be a bunch of people just talking in a bedroom or something for most of the movie, or going to a diner. We can film it at the diner. Now it's like whatever I can think of, I can make. And we're at that point right now. We don't even have to be like, oh yeah, this thing's going to cost $200 million. Be like, no, we can have the biggest damn space battle ever. And it might only be a $20,000, shot or something like that, because you still need people to oversee all that. But I mean, that should excite us, and it doesn't. People are just so terrified because they know that, for those who cannot adapt, that they're going to be out of work, and the animators are going to be heavily affected. I mean, the animation industry is going to be completely nuked by AI, or at least the grunts. They're going to be showrunners. We're going to have character designers. We're going to have writers, but the grunts are going to be nuked by it for sure. 100%. There's just no way to avoid it. And we've been telling people this, right? And they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They want to hear everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be the way it's always been. And I get it. You just went to school. You just spent, God knows how much money at SCAD for a degree that you can wipe your ass with. But some of those people are going to come out of it and they're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to embrace this, and I'm going to make the best damn animated movies ever, because this is great. I don't have to get together a team of like 400 people and get some studio to sign off on, $100 million, $200 million budget anymore. I can make whatever the fuck I want to make. And that should excite you. It really should excite you. But it doesn't. It makes people scared. Technology bad. And I'm seeing it on YouTube too. I mean, these are people, this is what's so weird about it on the YouTube end is I think people just thought that they couldn't be replaced either, right? But YouTube blew up because normal people could have access to technology that they normally, and audiences that they normally wouldn't have had access to. Because, you know, of the gatekeeping. And some people are like, no, gatekeep YouTube because, you know, it can't be me too. You can't make it easier. Now, you can't replace me. It's like some people are like, oh, I can't do YouTube because I don't look good enough, or I don't, you know, I'm not articulate enough, or I don't have the right lighting, or I'm not whatever. Now it's like, oh, yeah, it's okay. The AI can do that too. They can make it look like $1 million. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I get it. Things are going to change. This is Jason Blum. And he said some things in a podcast that are pissing people off. He opens up about AI in the state of horror. He said to Variety, he said, whatever you feel about AI, it's here to stay. It's very important to use it ethically and legally, and for the studios and the guilds to protect the copyright of the artist. I agree with that. Anyone who's listening to my spiels on AI knows that I'm not for AI just lifting content from people without their consent. I'm not for people having their likenesses stolen or their voices stolen. But by God, if you could use it as an assistant, just imagine what you could do, right? If you took the limiter off of it, right? It's like in Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock realizes the limiter chip in the back of his neck is gone. It's like, oh no, take that off of that, at least for people that are working professionally, and be like, yeah, you can do more than an 8-second video. You can do more than, you know, whatever. Then it's really going to open up all kinds of possibilities. If we in Hollywood stick our heads in the sand and don't use it at all, he says, we're going to cede content creation to other people. Again, that's what they're afraid of. Translation, we let the plebs have YouTube and look what happened. The consumer does not care if what they're looking at is AI. Right. We've got to embrace it, but ethically and legally. I like Jason Blum. This is exactly what I've been saying. And I don't just like him because, you know, he's saying what I've been saying, but he is correct. If you want to continue to make content for people, you're going to have to embrace it. It's unavoidable, but you also have to make sure that, you know, people are getting paid. Now, he talks about money. He talks about how this could cut down on money. He said, I thought the ideal thing would be to make movies independently and have them released by a studio. No one was doing that at the time, and that's what Paranormal Activity was. Then we came very fast out of the gate with Insidious, Sinister, and The Purge, all examples of super low-budget indie movies released by studios. It's still in the DNA of Hollywood that if you have success, you need to then make way more expensive movies. Whether you're a producer, an actor, especially if you're a director, you had a hit with a $5 million movie at Sundance, you should do a $20 million movie for Searchlight. That never made any sense to me. I made many mistakes in my career, but one thing I did right was not get tempted by this notion of making more expensive movies after you had a huge hit. Well, I mean, that could be argued because Megan 2 and also Five Nights at Freddy's 2, they keep adding more and more celebrities to it. But now, to be clear, he's not using, to the best of my knowledge, AI for Five Nights at Freddy's 2, but he's realistic. And I think a lot of directors, a lot of showrunners are realistic about it. And they're looking at it too, because they're partly responsible for reining in the budgets, right? So they're going to look at this and be like, I can make 3 movies for the price of 1. Hot damn. There's this idea I've been sitting on for 10 years. I can finally fucking do it because I can make this movie for $25 million now. And before it would have cost $125 million now. So I guarantee you the right people are excited in Hollywood about it. They're already using it for everything. They're just not telling the actors, they're not telling the writers, they're not telling the production people because they don't want them to freak out because everybody's afraid that AI is going to turn into Terminator and kill us. And that, I believe, is being perpetuated by the people that have something to lose, which is money. And I get it, right? You know, but it's unavoidable, right? Everything is going to change. 5-10 years from now, it is going to be normal for every TV show, every movie to at least have some AI component in it. It's going to be very normal. And AI, you know, bot wranglers are going to be treated like production people now. FX people. And they'll probably just call them FX people. They'll probably be like, yeah, this person did FX. Or this person did in between or tweening or whatever on animation. They're just kind of the in-betweeners now, even though they used AI assistants, because you still have to tweet stuff, right? And that's what's going to happen. And everybody will get the fuck over it eventually. There just won't be as many people working in Hollywood, and that is what they're afraid of. I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later. For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.